How much does it cost to become a London taxi driver? Hello everyone, my name is Tom. I am a London black cab driver sharing with you my insights here on YouTube. If you enjoy what I do here, hit the subscribe and smash that like button. One misconception that I've often got from the comments on YouTube is, how much does it cost for a London taxi license? And this generally comes because a lot of countries in the world, you just pay a fixed fee for your badge or for your plate, and then you just go out and start working as a taxi driver. New York, for example, has the medallion system, whereby you pay quite a lot of money for a medallion. It's kind of seen as like an investment, like a bit like a house, where you pay for it gradually over time, but then it's always seen as like a right to work. Well, in London it's slightly different. You have to earn your badge through the knowledge.
My father's a cabbie sort of thing, and his father before him, and the wife's like, and two of my brothers.
Mr. Margolis, passing the knowledge is different from everything else in the world. It's not who you know, it's what you know.
And that's one of the great things about the system. And what's even greater is actually how much that then costs to study. But largely, as it's self-directed, it's more your own personal costs. So I'm going to run through these in this video. Firstly, you have to apply. You can start doing the knowledge at any point. You can go grab the Blue Book runs and physically go out and start running them on a push bike, on a moped, which is the most common way of doing it. And then if you like the feel of it, if you get some progress behind you, then you can apply. It also might be a good idea to apply if you've got a bit of a shady background, maybe a criminal record, and you're wondering if a conviction is, if it's been spent, unspent, whatever. Same goes for medical. There might be something on your medical file that might hinder you getting licensed. So try the application process and then you can see. So to do this, you need to do a DBS check, which is your criminal record check. You also need to do a medical, and then you have to pay a fee to Transport for London to physically apply for the knowledge. The application fee is £120. A medical assessment is around £80 from a GP. And a DBS check is £52 if you do it online. So looking at it as a rough average, it's about £252 to apply to go onto the knowledge. Once you've got that application process in, you have 2 years to complete your Blue Book runs and advance onto examinations. If you don't start the examination process within 2 years, you have to pay the application process, the criminal record check, and the medical assessment all over again. 2 years is more than enough time to get through your Blue Books and get onto exams. It probably takes about a year, but if you have unnecessary hold-ups, it could, delay yourself in that way. Your very first examination on the knowledge is a written examination. It's called the map test. I liken the map test to the actual knowledge, the appearance side, kind of like what the theory test is to your driving test. That map test costs £200, is £200 per test. So if you fail it, you have to go back and pay it again. Ideally though, if you're doing your studying correctly, and much like a car theory test, you should be able to pass that first time, so likely to be a one-off fee. Once you pass your map test, you then progress onto what is called appearances. Now, appearances are the physical oral examinations you take where you prove to an examiner the routes of London, where you do point to point. I've made another video about the knowledge examination process over here. To get into the appearance system costs £400, but that is a one-off cost. It doesn't matter whether you're on appearances for a year or if you're on appearances for 15 years. So you could go through multiple levels, you might get knocked back a stage. Your appearance cost is a one-off £400. Then when you finish the knowledge, once you have passed, you've got that coveted handshake, maybe it's 2, 3, 4 years down the line from when you initially applied, you have to pay for the grant of your license, you know, your badge effectively. That's £180.
Mr. Matthews, your green badge. That'll be 15p.
And also, if you're of a certain age, you will need to do another medical assessment. You will also have to update your previous criminal record check as you're now getting ready to become a cab driver. So in total, the non-negotiable costs, the things that you have to pay to get a London taxi driver's licence, is £1,032. Now it seems like a lot of money, but that cost is actually spread across your time on the knowledge. So when you first apply, £250, then it might be a year and a half before you take your map test. If you pass your map test, you'll be onto your appearances within the next month, 2 months. So that's £400 you have to pay there. But then you might be on the appearance process for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years before you then have to pay any other costs, your grant of badge fee. So it is broken up a little bit, so it's not quite as daunting. The other thing to consider, which are of course fixed to some way, is study materials. So you're going to need a large map. You're going to need some blue books. They're essential to get yourself through the knowledge. You'll have other optional books that you can get, like Missing Pieces, Football Runs, all designed to help you understand that map a little bit more. I would say a non-negotiable is the daily point sheets. And this is kind of like getting a mock exam paper delivered every single day of what has been asked at the examination centre. Then there's other negotiable costs to think about. You need some kind of vehicle to do the runs on.
But the only way to learn the knowledge is by climbing onto your bike and doing the sod.
I done mine on a motorbike. I had to come in on a motorway to get into London, so I needed quite a big motorbike. I bought a Suzuki Bandit 600 for £1,000. I also done some of my knowledge runs in my car. In the winter, the car was a brilliant resource because it then meant I wasn't going to not go out. Arguably the best vehicle on the knowledge is the one that gets you into London and actually makes you do the work. Because some people are like, oh, I've got to get the best scooter, I've got to get the best that. Well, no, just make sure you get there really. So you've got to consider those costs, the running costs of both of those things, putting in petrol. If you know that you're going to have to go to London 3 times a week, whatever your mode of transport is, there's going to be some sort of petrol or fuel cost to that. Add that up. You've got a weekly cost then, you've got a monthly cost. There's no point starting the knowledge, then realising 3 months down the line that it's too expensive, you can't do it. So just get that hurdle out of the way now, find out what your number is like that. And then of course there's the time actually taken. You can't necessarily quantify the time, and everyone else's time is worth something to them, I guess. You know, I effectively work 5 days a week, 9 to 6. So by the time I finish work, commuted into London, we're talking about 7 o'clock anyway. You stay in London for, 4 hours at a time, that's 11 o'clock. Another hour back home, that's 12 o'clock at night. So you've got to see that as kind of as a cost, because what are you sacrificing to go and do that? It's costing you money and time to go out and do that. That's really my answer to when people say, oh, how much does it cost to get a London taxi licence? It's kind of weird because in terms of fixed costs, about £1,000, but in terms of your own negotiable costs, it could be quite a lot more. Thank you once again for watching this video. You might enjoy some of my other content where I share more about the knowledge process and what it's like to be a London taxi driver. Thanks again, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye bye.